with prayer?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay. I'm not nervous for trying. Is there any way to turn off that buzzing? I'm sorry. I'm not.
Should we turn off the microphone maybe?
There we go. Beautiful. Okay. We want to take all distractions. We're just going to have to live with the kids having fun, okay? Okay. Okay. Let's pray. Thank you, God, for this opportunity, Lord. We just lift up your name tonight. In our songs that we sang, Lord, we want to glorify you. In our time together, we want to glorify you. Lord, we want to pray your best, your blessing over Starr as she shares with us, Lord, that your message would come through loud and clear and that you would be glorified. Lord, give her strength and patience and just a willingness to speak what you have placed on her heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I can tell you that I was born in Defiance, Ohio. I was the baby of 4 kids. They were stair-stepped. There were 5, 4, 3, and then I was born. So my mom had her hands full. I don't really remember much throughout my childhood. I remember where I lived. I remember what school I went to. And there's very few good memories that I remember as a child. I want to take this testimony to tell you the things that I've been through and the horrific things that I've been through, because I want to show you where I've been and where I've came. So, besides all the demographic things, I want to start out from when I was about the age of 5. My older brother, who was 4 years older than me, started to molest me. And again, I block out most of it as a way to deal with it. And when I was about 10, I told my sisters that he was doing things to me, and they told my mom. And then my mom had him put into a home in Columbus for problem children, something like that. We would go to family counseling and everything. And however, I ended up changing my story and telling the counselors and my family and everybody that my brother never did anything to me, because my sisters bullied me and literally beat me up and told me that I was lying. So I went and I told everybody that I was lying so that we could all just pretend to have this happy family that we really weren't. But we really, really tried to let the whole world think that we were this perfect little family. But after that, I don't know if it was that my brother was getting up in age or he was angry that I told on him. But even throughout the sexual abuse, he would hit me and beat me. He's held guns up to my head. He's held knives up to my throat. And so at 10, after I told the family I lied, I became right. And the physical abuse continued on since. And I think until I was about 14. And it stopped with my brother. But even at around 12 and 13, I was also abused by my mom's boyfriend sexually, and my uncle sexually. And these are just a few of the many, many people that have abused me in some way or another. But I started to cut myself when I was about 11, 12 years old to be able to deal with all of this. I excelled in school because that was a place that I could get positive attention. So I always had straight A's, and I was always so smart. And I grew up, I became very sexually promiscuous. I became a huge cutter, and I hated myself, and I wanted to die, and I tried to kill myself several times, and I didn't succeed. But I kind of want to stop there, and I just kind of want to fast forward to where my life really started getting bad. I got beat up really, really bad by a boyfriend that had never laid a hand on me. One day he just flipped out on me, and he just beat the crap out of me, and he gave me a concussion, and he broke my nose, and my face was unrecognizable. And it was the first time I stood up for myself. And I called the cops, and I pressed charges against him, and he went to trial, and he was found not guilty of felonious assault against me. So I'm all over the place with this right now. But more of the recent years, I had became addicted to cocaine, which then I became addicted to crack cocaine because it was a faster high, and I felt like I could come down quicker and deal with it better. And through the cocaine use, I was prostituting myself out to get the money to pay for my drugs. And then I got sober for about a year from crack, and then I started to do heroin, and I was still just using my money to pay for the drugs. And to my old lifestyle, and I continued to prostitute because it was the easy way, and I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't feel bad about it. I was doing so many things back there that I didn't even. I stole anything I wanted, anything I needed. I stole from people. I stole from stores. I just lived this horrible life that I can't even imagine living now. But I actually met my husband through prostitution. The very first time that me and my husband were intimate, it was through a date. However, that was the first time for him and the last time for him. I was actually dating his cousin at the time, and I know it's all weird, I'm sorry. I was dating his cousin at the time, and he was very physically abusive, and my husband became a friend, and a confidant, and somebody that I could rely on when I was crying and scared due to what his cousin was doing to me. And when my husband and I first started to officially date each other, he didn't know I was a drug addict. He didn't know why I was prostituting to begin with. But so for the first couple of years of our marriage, I was a crack addict. I was a prostitute, and I cheated on my husband over and over and over. But in that moment, it was okay for me because I wasn't emotionally cheating on him. I was only doing it to get the money for the drugs. You know, so I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel guilty about it. And sometimes I take the money I earned from prostituting and go buy my husband gifts. Maybe to make myself feel better. I don't know. But I'll just stop about my life right there. But I got in trouble 2 years ago for trafficking in heroin. And my lawyer told me to stay sober. And I didn't. I was only supposed to get probation, but I showed up to my court date with heroin in my system. And they drug tested me. And they sentenced me to 60 days in jail in the war center. And by the time I was sentenced, I knew I was an addict. I knew I wanted help, but I just couldn't admit it, and I couldn't reach out for it. I couldn't ask anybody to help me. So I spent those 60 days in jail dealing and accepting the fact that I was going to be away from my son, who I had. I backed up. I relapsed when I was pregnant with my son. When I first got sober, I got pregnant by him in 2002. for him, 2011, and I quit cold turkey from heroin. No problem, I walked away from it. But some friends came around and I ended up relapsing when I was 8 months pregnant. And luckily, my son was born fine. But I continued using until I was arrested and sent to jail at the War Center. Jail in the War Center. While I was in jail, I would use every excuse to get out of the pod. I would go to school, and I didn't need to get my GED. I would go out to rec, and I would go to see the Gideons. I would go to Bible study. And I was convinced that I was a Christian. I was convinced that I would go to heaven even after everything that I had ever been through. You know, I never said, sorry, God, or please forgive me, God, or anything like that, because I knew that I believed in God and I was going to heaven no matter what. I wasn't going to go to hell. I'd already been through hell. But, you know, they give you those little cards with the prayer. I believe, what is it, Romans 10?
Romans 10,
Romans
8
10,
through 10.
8 through 10. And I went back to the pod and I read it, you know, and I didn't think anything would happen. And I didn't get any miraculous feeling or sense of peace when reading it. But I got in a fight. I wasn't trying to fight with this girl, but this girl got angry at me, and she ended up hitting me in jail. And this was a few weeks after I had read that prayer, and for whatever reason, when she hit me, yeah, I cried, but I had this utter sense of peace that everything was going to be okay, and that, and all of a sudden I found myself praying and reading the Bible and talking, and at this utter peace where everything was going to be okay. As much of a struggle I was in, and how I hated being in jail, and I hated to be away from my family. I knew I was stuck there, and I knew I couldn't get out, but I knew that there were a lot more other people in this world that were in prison for a lot less of a crime. And I knew that Jesus was punished for a whole heck of a lot less than what I was in there for. And I cry when I think about that a lot. I cry when I think about what Jesus went through. So, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Anyways, I accepted God into my heart. And when I went to the War Center, I put everything into my recovery. I spent every minute while I was in there studying and reading self-help books and spending hours speaking with the supervisors and speaking with my case manager and everybody I talked to and everybody that I wrote. All I could is talk about God, because I could feel how He changed me. It was like a switch. When it finally happened, it was like a switch. And I got out of the War Center, and I came home, and my husband had forgiven me for everything that I had done to him. I had confessed it, and he had forgiven me for everything I had done, and we ended up getting married on Halloween. Just by chance, it's Halloween. But it was 2 months after I was out of the War Center, and I have been the most loyal and dedicated wife that I could have never imagined myself 2 years being. I'm honest, and I talk to him, and I don't cheat on him, and I don't talk to other men, and I don't steal, and I don't lie. I have a hard time smoking a cigarette. I have a hard time, if I find myself lying or wanting to lie, I stop and I'm like, why do I even have to lie? I don't need to lie about who I am or what I was or what I'm doing. It's just pointless. But I want to end this in saying that even though everything I've been through and I found God and I found peace, life is not easy, and it's not going to be easy. But I see that there's worth in life now. I see that life's worth fighting for now. I have been through a lot since I've gotten sober. You know, my dad has had a stroke. my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, is pregnant. And this past summer, my mother, who adopted her as a young child, she hit her. So we are currently fighting my mom for custody of my daughter. There's a protection order out. We're fighting for custody of it. But even more recently, I have learned that my daughter was sexually abused while she was in my mother's home. And my mother didn't believe her, and my mother didn't do anything about it. And she still doesn't believe her. And she still doesn't want to try and get her the help that she needs. And, I'm not going to get into the crazy stuff that I am dealing with right now. But I know in the end that it's going to be okay. And it's hard, and it's tough, and it sucks. Sometimes I want to give up. But you can't give up. Because giving up would be going back to the life that I had before. And that was no way to live. And I think I'm done.